Narrator Freda Bartlett, address Lowell, Illinois, Highway 106, 62343. Telephone number 432-8370. Birth date March 16th, 1910. Birthplace north of Barry, Illinois. Interviewer Rueb. Date and place of interview Freda Bartlett's home, Lowell, Illinois 62343.
Illinois. Interviewer Rebecca Christine Cox. Date.
Did you have any friends that lost their home during the Depression?
No, don't think so. Not that I can remember.
Did you help any of the people that didn't have much money?
Well, I didn't have much money either. Well, we helped each other, the neighbors, and we helped each other by help can and food and stuff like that.
Were there anyone besides family members living in your home?
No. This family.
Now I got home questions. What was the size of your home?
Well, we lived several places. How would you do that?
Just talked about all of them, I guess.
Well, what size home? That means how many... Well, one thing it was inconvenient to me, we didn't have electricity back. And we lived on the Clark place, and up Grub Hollow, we lived up there till the year that Jean graduated, the 8th grade. And she graduated up here, Catherine Pottis was teaching right up here at Walnut. What is this schoolhouse up here called?
Grade school?
Yeah, what is it, Walnut Creek?
No, our teacher was talking about that school, but I don't know where it is.
It's across there. Walnut Creek School, and that's right across that's where Jean graduated from high school, or from the grade school. We lived in the Clark place down here. And what school was that Mound? That you went to Mound School all through the grades, didn't you? That's up Grub Hollow. And we lived on the Clark place, Owen Clark place.
About how many rooms were there in your house?
We had, on the Clark place, you mean?
Yeah.
There was kitchen and living room, dining room, and 2 bedrooms. And no bathroom. And no electricity until we moved down here to the Potter's place.
Did you have to live off of any animals?
Did it have any animals?
Yeah, to eat.
Yes. We had cattle and hogs and chickens. Jean helped milk. She knows about milk. We sold milk to the Berry cheese factory.
Did you have any pets?
Pets?
Yeah.
Yeah. We had 2 dogs, wasn't it? Jack and Spitty, and Jiggs the cat. I think. Wasn't his name Jiggs? And the little Spitz dog went up to Owen Fitch's house and ate some rat poison and died. We took her to veterinary, but they couldn't save her. She was white Spitz.
And I got church questions. What did the church do to help people affected by the Depression?
Well, they gathered clothes and gave clothes away. The First Christian Church at Barry, and then we gathered toys at Christmas time and gave to the families that could not afford them. And we also gave them food. We still do. And what else would you want to know? What else would the church do, Jean?
Did you have time to go to church? And if so, where?
Yes, we went to Barry to the First Christian Church. And my husband was deacon in the church. About every Sunday.
Did anyone you know have to live in the church because they didn't have a place to live?
Did anyone what?
Have to live in the church because they lost their homes?
No, you mean go to church and live. The only thing that somebody stayed all night that was going through, some minister that we had, I can't think who it was, and they couldn't find any place to sleep in Barry, and so he let them in the church to sleep. And they were walking. Oh, they came through here, you know. They had sheets, so, well, he let them in, and they stayed all night.
Did the church provide meals for people?
Milk?
Meals.
Meals? Yes, but I don't know what they do now. Yes, everybody helped everybody else.
Did people have time to go to church, or did they have to work?
No, most of them went to church. There wasn't many that worked only through the week. And it's mostly retired people and farmers that went up there.
How many attended church?
Oh, my lady. I wouldn't have, that far back, I wouldn't have any idea.
Like, was a lot of them, or just a little bit?
About the same ones every Sunday. See, the 2 churches has gone together now, the Baptist church and the Christian church.
Yeah.
And called the yoke. Because we didn't have money enough to pay. Each of them didn't have money enough to pay the ministers and hire different ministers. Oh, I'd say, let's see, I fixed the communion several times. I have glasses in that communion tray. Is there about 20, you know, Jean, in your church? That's around. Let's see, I'd say they'd be close to 100. But now they would be more because the 2 churches are together.
Yeah.
And we have communion every Sunday. The First Christian does, but the Baptists don't.
Did your parents have a job? Or did?
My parents were farmers.
Yeah.
They raised hogs and cattle and milk cows. They had milk cows.
Where were they born?
Let's see. I don't know whether my father was born in Pennsylvania or not, but they migrated here in a covered wagon and homesteaded 2 farms north of Barry. And that was the Pierces. Now the Halls, my mother was a Hall. And I just don't know. Well, she was born here, but I don't know just where. I think it was out in Hadley Township. And then my father, if he was born here, he was born in Hadley Township too, north of Barry. And our address was Barry, out in the Buckeye neighborhood. And that's where the Pierce homestead was. They fox hunted on this farm. And, you know, people had come in and they had horses and raised foxes and they had hounds. Because Mr. Timberland come out and told me so when we lived in Pittsfield. Because when he was a little boy, he was an old man, and when he was a little boy, why, he said that he had been out there with his grandfather.
Did any of your brothers or sisters live with you?
No, I don't have any brothers or sisters.
Okay.
Just me. I have 1 daughter. 2 granddaughter and a grandson. And 4 great-grandsons.
Did the Depression affect your parents' jobs?
Oh, let's see. Golly. They didn't die in the Depression. Do I have to have just a year? If I know this, I could have had it looked up, but I didn't know you was going to ask that.
That wasn't what he asked you. He said, were your folks affected by the Depression?
Yes. Yes, we had to eat chickens and eggs because milk wasn't very high. Cream, we sold cream, and it wasn't very high priced, and we didn't have any way of icing it. We just had to keep it in a basement, you know, cellar. And we didn't have any insurance. My mother got in the hospital. Boy, that cleaned us about.
Did your neighborhood change during the Depression? If so, how?
Did the neighbor what?
Did your neighborhood change during the Depression?
You mean somebody else moved in?
Well, did the town change? Or houses around
Well,
it?
honey, I lived in the country.
Yeah.
And I lived on what they call the Pierce Homestead because they built this house with native lumber. They lived in the covered wagons until they got the house built. But I don't know what year that was.
Were there many people living around you?
Well, the closest neighbor was a quarter of a mile. They was a quarter of a mile, 3 of them, one direction and one another. And the Kimballs lived on the left of us, and Huff slid south, and this place is located almost on the Adams County line. We lived in Pike County, and we had our private cemetery and everything. Everybody out there did that day and age, way back when.
Did the Depression affect any of your friends? People you know?
Well, now, the Depression was what year?
1929 to 1941.
Well, yes, it did us, because I was married in 1930, and we had it rough. We couldn't get much for the hogs we sold, and we had to do without electricity in the house. I went to housekeeping, we did, right south of town here on the Dr. Peacock place. And then, yes, but we didn't buy many groceries, I'll say that. And we didn't have electricity. And we had water in the house, but it was a pump, and you had to prime it.
Did food prices raise or lower when the Depression started?
I believe they lowered. I'm sure they did. Because hogs wasn't as much, and cattle and milk and stuff like that wasn't as high priced as it should have been. The farmers didn't get much for what they sold. They raised.
Did you raise money or have a job?
I didn't have a job until after I graduated high school. But you understand, we didn't have anything on the coal oil lamps and gasoline lamps that you put down on the farm. And no inside plumbing, a cook stove. But we lived out of our garden and the animals that we raised, butcher, calves. And we did not have a car. Now, I went to church back in that time at Buckeye Church. It was all the farmers around there, and the Christian preacher preached out there. Christian. They drove the horses to the buggy and tied them. They had posts and stuff clear around the church that they tied them. It was just kind of a, community church. And the schoolhouse was right across the road, and that's where I graduated in 8th grade. And I graduated from Berry High School.
Did you have a lot of furniture in your home?
Yes, we had a lot of antique furniture. And my great-grandfather was a cabinet maker. And he made this furniture. And that's where I got a lot of my antiques was handed down.
Did anybody you know lose their homes during this thing?
Anybody that I knew do what?
Did anybody that you knew lose their homes?
Lose their home.
During the Depression.
Well, not that I know of. Some of them sold them. And, of course, a lot of people out in there, they had more than one farm. It wasn't very big, but they had more than one farm. And the homestead, the Pierce homestead, was 80 acres. And then the timber that they bought was on down, I don't know, there's a house and a farm between the timber. And they used this timber to build the buildings and the barn and everything. They had it rough in the covered wagon. That's all there was about it. We had wells. They dug wells and rocked them up, with rocks.
Did many people have to move to a different place?
No, there wasn't too many moving. Most everybody, you see, a farm back in them days didn't cost very much, but you didn't have much money. And there wasn't hardly any rented. There was one down by us that was 40 acres, but they had sold it. And they didn't lose it, they sold it. I just can't think. But I know it was rough because a lot of us didn't have electricity and we didn't have a bathroom and it was rough. Now my family, this is the Pierces, that's my side of the house where I was married. And see, I was married in 1930. So it should be instead of my family on back in 31, my mother died in 29. But did you mean Shirley and I, or did you mean my folks on back where I was raised?
Well, just anyone around there. Just anyone around there, around the area.
Well, I told you where I was raised, but we didn't live out there after I was married. I was married in 1930. So, but you wanted on back, back of 41. But I was telling you what when I was a girl,
Yeah.
Was that what you wanted?
Let's see. What was it like when the nation started coming out of the Depression? When it was over?
Gosh, I don't know. What year was it that the Depression was was coming out of the Depression. What year was it?
It was about 41 or 42. It was starting to come out.
41 or 42. Well, let's see. Where did we live in 41, 42? I wished I'd have had them dates. I could have called people and found out. 41, 42. Louise Staffen, I was trying to think. But we was a little more saving. I know that. We watched our money awful close. Because we hadn't had anything, you know, and we was afraid to see 33 and we, I think, lived at Grub Hall, Shirley.
Did prices go up after the Depression?
Do what?
Did prices go up after the Depression? Over?
Yes, I think we did a little bit.
What happened in there? Will prices go up and all that, or?
Well, the prices of homes and stuff like that you sold went up a little after the Depression. But it was rough getting through the Depression. I'd say that prices went up a little bit. And let's see. We still farmed the horses, didn't we? We still depended on the chickens and the milk for a living. Sold milk to the very cheese factory. I'd say the prices went up a little bit. I think milk did, and eggs, and chickens, and I sold to the hatchery too, and that helped. And setting eggs, and let's see. I wish that I could remember the year that we moved down here, at the Potter's place. I can't think at all. You was in the 8th grade. Was you graduated at Catherine Potter's teaching out here, this school. You graduated from high school in 50, didn't you? 51. Well, let's see, that would be in the 40s. That's what we moved down here. And that's the year we bought a tractor. Stuff like that. Yes, I think the prices went up a little in the grain and the hogs and the cattle. We depended on hogs a lot. But I can't remember what year. I'll call Louise tonight and then I can call you and tell you some of this stuff.
Okay.
If she remembers. Because she lived up there, you know, Louise Staff, Hubert. And we lived on Park Place. But,
I can remember.
what?
I can remember Dad buying feed in colored feed sacks from town. And that's what we made dresses and things out of.
Yeah. You had dresses made out of these feed sacks. That's how I got my eye, trying to bleach them. That
You
stuff.
wouldn't believe that.
And we made sheets out of them and curtains. And that was Depression days. And
raised everything you ate. And done that.
What year was it, though? But that's the way we helped to get through depression. But that first I gave you was my family. I thought you would want with that. Where I was raised and so on.
You've probably got enough to go on, haven't you? Cover your project.
Yeah.
You can call up, honey, and ask. I'll call Louise and on some of these other questions. And
Okay.
I've been talking to her about it, and she and I have been trying to remember. And awful part was getting the washing done, heating the water and on the stove and stuff like that. No water tanks like you got and I got, and so on.
We'd never make it nowadays. We had to go back to that. I'm gonna have to go, Mother.
Well, you don't need to be in a hurry.
Oh, no,